Okay, so let's begin first with the Miss Universe organization new structure. What does it mean? Ano yung mga changes that we've noticed in the leadership, and what are the things that we are expecting to, what do you call this? We're expecting to see later on in the Miss Universe organization. So, first things first is that, of course, we all know that Khun is no longer the main owner of the Miss Universe organization and now is the co-owner with Raul Rocha, of a Mexican businessman who is now named as the president and co-owner of the Miss Universe organization. Khun remains to be the CEO of the Miss Universe organization as a whole. And let's break down what does it mean from a business sense. What does it mean in terms of how the organization is going to be run or possibly be run, and what are the changes that we expect to happen? So first things first, what's the difference again between a CEO and a president? I think I've discussed this before. I've already mentioned when Amy Emmerich was hired in, I believe, 2022 with regards to her position as Miss Universe CEO versus the role that Paula Shugart is gonna play as the president of the organization. So just like what the dynamic is with Paula Shugart and Amy Emmerich, this is the same thing with Khun and Raul Rocha, because the CEO is in charge of the overall vision and direction rather of the entire Miss Universe organization. She is the one who's going to dictate what is the business ventures that they're going to be dealing with in the future, how the organization is going to be steered and managed towards which goal in which the organization is purposely heading towards to. And the CEO essentially is the one who handles, the steering of the ship when it comes to the direction of the entire organization. On the other hand, the president, who is Raul Rocha, is the one who is going to manage the day-to-day, running of the entire, the entire organization. So he's the one who's going to make sure that everything is within the timetables that they set. The budgets are within the limits that they have discussed. Financial goals are met under him. And he is the one who is going to be spearheading all communications within the organization and head up everything that needs to make sure that the entire ship functions properly. So in essence, the CEO is in charge of the vision, in charge of the goals, in charge of the direction that the organization is going to head towards to, while the president is the one who actively manages the day-to-day operations of the entire organization. So nothing goes to the CEO without having it go through the president first, and no major decision is created without the knowledge of the CEO and without the proper acknowledgement from the president as well. So this is going to be a dual partnership where each of the heads would have different areas of responsibilities. So with that being said, with that being clarified, there are other changes that we expect to be implemented over the next several weeks or several months. I understand that there are a lot of fans who are not happy with this development. There might be fans who are not very welcoming of the changes. However, this is not something that we should be surprised about, because this is something that happens in any organization. It just so happened that when IMG took over the entire organization, they didn't necessarily let go of everyone within the organization. whenever there are, acquisitions, it is very normal in the business world that the old organization running the leadership of the business is usually let go or given, ample time to transition to a more streamlined organization as deemed by the new owners. And this is what happened in Miss Universe. I understand that there are still, sour feelings between several former members of the organization, who have been very vocal on social media or on other platforms about their displeasure and are dropping, shady hints or shady mga posts. But this is expected because change is something that is in eventuality going to happen, whether we like it or not. It just so happened that we didn't see that kind of change during the IMG leadership. However, there were moves or countermeasures allegedly that was being set in place in order to make changes on the organization itself. So it just so happened that before those alleged changes are implemented or made, the Miss Universe organization has been sold to a new business owner. So now that we've cleared that up, what are the things that we see with regards to this change in leadership, and how will it impact the organization? So first and foremost, I think we have to focus on the positives first. Let's discuss first yung mga bagay na can be improved because of this new change, because of this change in leadership. So the first thing that I am hoping that would happen is that because of the more global in terms of ownership, it's no longer American centric. It's no longer American owned, 100% American owned na pageant. I am hoping that the Miss Universe becomes more global in terms of its, how do you say this? In terms of its outlook and in terms of its perspective when it comes to the pageant. And I know that this is going to be something that's going to be new for a lot of people, or something that is not easily welcome, because we have been very complacent, or we have been used to the fact that in Miss Universe there are certain countries that are typically the ones who would enter the semifinalists year in, year out. And with a global ownership and leadership at Miss Universe, we are hoping that the Miss Universe will now become a bit more global in its perspective, in selecting its winners, in selecting its set of judges, so that it is more palatable to a more global audiences. And what I mean about with this is that we are hoping that moving forward, Miss Universe becomes more open to having more diverse set of judges, and open to probably having at least one judge per continent, one judge that is, diverse in race, ethnicity, and in political affiliation, in socio-political outlook, and have someone who is worldly, and someone who is knowable in the fashion industry, in the entertainment industry, and not just be, limited. I think that's the word. Not just be limited on influencers or people that are based in the United States. I am hoping that Miss Universe becomes more global in its perspective, in the way that they select its set of judges, so that the more diverse set of judges would eventually result with a more diverse set of semifinalists, and in the future, hopefully, a more diverse set of winners. Because as I've seen and I have reviewed the Miss Universe during the IMG period, despite having a diverse set of winners during their years, I think that a lot of their winners are really very focused towards selecting winners that are American centric in its audience. They tend to look at winners, or look for winners rather, that appeals to the American audience. And I think that with a global ownership, a more global ownership in the pageant, we would see a more global outlook in selecting a winner, and not just select a winner that caters to the specific American market. And I think that is something that can be successfully implemented by Khun Anne and Raul Rocha, because we want diversity, and we want diversity that is not forced or thrust into our faces and down our throats. We want diversity that is organic in nature, that doesn't feel like it's put on, or not very performative when you look at it from different perspectives and different angles. I think that is something that this new organization can really embrace and put forth for a global audience, that is the Miss Universe. Now, another thing that I think that can be a growth factor, or rather a growth area for the Miss Universe organization, is to have a more global set of people working with the organization. And currently, as I look at the as I look at the new organization, I see that mainly a lot of the vice president that was announced in the social media of Khun Anne and the Miss Universe organization, a lot of the heads are actually on the Latino side. And some of them are based in Miami, some of them are Nicaraguans. There's a Guatemalan, I believe, the vice president. And then there are also, thankfully, 3 Filipinos in the organization. And that is Olivia Cuido, Ko, and Casey and Cindy wait, tama ba? Villaverde. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned their names correctly. Apparently, Casey and Cindy are a couple who is now working with the Miss Universe organization. And what I am hoping to see is that, aside from Khun Anne, who is of course Thai, and her I believe her sister, who is also like the executive assistant to Khun Anne, I do hope that there's a more diverse set of people in the organization, that they would invite maybe a European and an African into the organization to really explode this into a more global management structure. That way, we see more diversity, not only in the semifinalists, but also in the leadership as well, which I think is one of the things that was a I don't know what's the better word aside from missed opportunity. That was a lacking on the IMG era of the Miss Universe organization, because all you see are Americans running the organization. If you want to have a global brand like the Miss Universe is supposed to be, then you should have global management. Global management. I think that's the wrong term. A global set, a diverse set coming from different parts of the world in the management table of the organization. Okay, so there. I think also this is something that can be, that can be done gradually. But I am glad that right now, there's a Colombian, there's a couple of Guatemalans, a couple of Nicaraguans. Karen Celeberti, who is the former national director of Miss Universe Nicaragua, has now been absorbed alongside her daughter into the organization. There's also a Guatemalan, there's also several Mexicans and several Latinos who are based in Miami in the organization. And if I'm not mistaken, one of those people or one of those managers that is added into the organization has ties with NBC Universal, Univision. So that would be a great, opportunity for future Miss Universe winners, because it would allow, connections like this would allow them to be participative in a number of, what do you call this, television appearances that can happen in the future. So what are the things that I think might be, a downside in this organization? Of course, because there are now two co-owners who have vastly two different jobs and responsibilities. I think there is this, fear that baka mag-clash yung personalities of those two heads. Of course, we cannot discount the fact that people have different personalities, different management styles, and this might be applicable to Raul, Rocha and Khun and themselves. However, if you have two people who are mature and are very business savvy, then I think the partnership can go either smoothly or go terribly wrong. Because if you have two persons who have very strong personalities and they are in the opposite sides of the personality spectrum, one who is one that does not complement each other in terms of their management style, then we might have a problem. I am hoping that this is not the case. I am hoping that we will not have another Paula Sugar and Khun Ann scenario where they have vastly different management styles and leadership styles. And we're hoping that Raul, Rocha and Khun Ann would have a more symbiotic and a more pleasant working relationship with each other. I think the Miss Universe needs to be very, needs to be very self-aware at this moment of the things that had gone wrong in the past, so that any mistakes that might have dampened the growth of the brand, the growth of the pageant, is addressed as early as now. Because during the IMG era of Paula Sugar, as president of the Miss Universe organization, it is not a hidden secret that the financial part of the organization, of managing the organization, has not been, as smooth sailing as we thought it should be, especially during the global pandemic, especially during the COVID-19 period that literally stopped everything in terms of live entertainment. Now, let's now look at what are the things that we can, we're hoping not to be repeated in this new era, in this new management of the Miss Universe organization. Of course, we hope that in fightings, any issues within the organization should be dealt within the organization. There's no need to, air your dirty laundry in public and forget that there are things that is best addressed within the organization if outside influence is not needed, or it's not helpful, it's not necessary, or it's not, helpful to address the problem. I think that in terms of finesse of handling these, internal struggles needs to be ironed out in such a way that there's no damage control that needs to be done after things are aired out on public. I think this is an area that can definitely be a growth area for the new Miss Universe organization, especially now that you have, a team of competent people handling the organization. Hopefully, they can show these competencies in managing the organization without having to blast it out on social media. The second thing that I am hoping that would not happen anymore in the Miss Universe organization is actually, a very simple thing. I am hoping that there would not be a monopoly in terms of, spots on the semifinalists, because I believe that every girl who's participating and joining Miss Universe would want to be treated equally and be given equal opportunity or equal shot at the title. And I do hope that people will, or rather, the people within the organization would address, the the notion that Miss Universe is only about the Latins and the Asians, and that largely, a huge part of the African and the European contingencies are neglected or not given enough spotlight on. And I think, having a more global management, or a global not management, a global set of judges and selection committee, a more international set of people who is going to review, who's going to make it in the semis of Miss Universe, would be the solution to all of this problem. Because I think that in the past several years, there's a lot of Europeans and especially Africans that I felt that could have make it or should have make it in the top 5 or even top 3 of the Miss Universe organization, but they are not well represented in the judging table. That's why we miss them making it into the in the top 5 or even top 3 of the Miss Universe organization, Miss Universe pageant. So I do hope that these two will be addressed and these two will be solved with the new leadership at Miss